Esteem and honor to the Most High Yah, the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. You get this John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they was testified me. And you would not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? Let's slide over here to 1 Corinthians 13, and then we're going to keep on keeping on from what we were starting with last night, because it went a little different. We might can come back and revisit thinking as a child and actually come back to the attributes of what it is to be a man. We wanted to look at the attributes of childhood and manhood based off the covenant of which you would hold to and adhere to, and that is actually going to dictate your thinking whether you're going to be mature or immature. An individual who's holding fast to the old covenant, truth be told, is a spiritually immature person. I told you, majority of our people who are in the word, that's what they hold to, the new covenant, and that's why they don't, the old covenant, that's why they don't have any power, because there's no power attached to the old covenant. You know what I'm saying? Your level of maturity spiritually is going to be tied to the place that you find yourself in Yahushua HaMashiach. And if you have not found yourself picking up that stake and nailing yourself to it that you might die with him, then you will never be a full-grown adult. Not spiritually, it's going to be quite impossible. If you, as long as you had a thought process that I'm going to do my own will and not the thought process that he had, that not my will be done, but your will be done, and then actually live that and take whatever comes your way in regards to that, you can never attain to being like him. The objective is to become him. That's when you get your power. You're not gonna have power to overcome sin or overcome your thoughts or overcome the world without him. Children can't. What child you know can overcome the world? A child can't do that. A teenager can't do that. You have to be a full-grown man. That little video clip that I put out there, man, and I agree with them white folks, as forth as what they doing, is as forth as trying to destroy an alpha male or basically destroy masculinity, because that's how you destroy people. If you destroy the strong males and leave weak males behind, then that will destroy the infrastructure of an entire race of people. Because a weak man cannot raise and uphold a family. It's impossible for him to do so. He doesn't have the capabilities. You know what I'm saying? So you emasculate men.
That's what they did in slavery.
They've done that from the beginning of time. If you want to destroy a group of people, kill the men. They don't kill the women. The woman's not a threat. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's why when you see in our law, when you went in the land, who he told you to kill? He told you to kill all the males and all the women who had, except if they had not been with a man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? If you want to destabilize a people, you have to take out the males. And you specifically have to take out the strong ones. You know what I'm saying? You take them out. You ain't never read nowhere in this book where Satan attacked a weak man. For what? What am I attacking you for? There's nothing to attack. You're easily conquered. It's nothing. You know what I'm saying? A grown man, yeah, I'm going to have to take you down. I'm going to have to take you down.
He went against Job.
Job was a strong man.
And Mashiach.
He was a strong man.
And Abraham.
He was a strong man.
And then Isaac.
He was a strong man. These were strong men. These were not weak men. These were not passive men. You can't be a righteous man and a weak man at the same time. That's an oxymoron. So what he gonna go after Ahab for? He was a sucker. You know what I'm saying? What was he gonna go after King Hoshea for? He was a sucker. You know what I'm talking about? Went after Samson, strong man. Went after Solomon, strong man. They just had weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? Every man has weaknesses because you're human. You know what I'm saying? But then you have people who their character is weak. Their minds are weak. Their souls are weak. Their spirits are weak. So he told you his strength is made perfect in weakness. The error that individuals make is you in a weak state, and instead of seeking from the source of strength, you try to seek it from outside sources or seek it from yourself. That's the mistake that individuals make. You can't do that. If you're in a weak state, seek the source of strength.
You told me you have all these false religions.
No, you have false. That ain't got nothing to do with it, because every nation of people has worshiped their own gods from the beginning of time, and they're going to continue to do so until Yahushua come and eliminate that. That has nothing to do with nothing. You have to understand something. These people been worshiping who they want to worship, and they going to continue to do so. This ain't got nothing to do with people being weak. Yah organized himself with one group of people who was supposed to represent him in front of all people. But the people have been worshiping other gods. They not finna stop. They ain't nothing new. They ain't got nothing to do with weakness. That got done something to do with, that's what people do. Nevertheless, 1 Corinthians 13:9. He say, for we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but when that which is in part is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Let me ask y'all a question. That part where he say we know in part and prophecy in part, as far as you understand, what does that mean? Anybody can answer this. No, I'm not going around the room. What does that mean?
Like when you prophesy for something?
I'm just asking you. I mean, I'm asking you as far as you understand, what does it mean?
We don't really have the fullness of maturity in faith and knowledge.
Anybody else? So I can tell you most brews will tell you that means that don't nobody know everything, so you can't walk around in that fashion. That is not what he's saying. He's saying you prophecy in part, you know in part, but when that which is perfect, which we discussed last night, comes about, you know what I'm saying? Then there's no need for a part here and a part there, because all of it has been amalgamated and put together, and you can see the wholeness and the fullness of that testimony. Now, you say when he was a child, he understood as a child and put away childish things. And we done talked about that before, dealing with coming up out of Egypt and all this here, man. But I'll go around the room, and you don't have to enumerate anything, just the thing that you feel is the most childish thing that you had to put away at this point in your life, and what was it? And you can go first because you're in front of me.
Oh shoot! The first thing I had to put away was going after these hoes, man. Because
you don't have to go into detail. You don't got to go into detail.
Can I?
Go ahead, though.
Well, the reason is because when I grew up in California, the mode is if you ain't getting a girl, you fag, man, and people bash you for it. So I tried everything and everything, try to get a girl, but girl didn't want me because they found out I was half black and half Mexican. They were like, "Who are you, nigga? We can't associate with you because you're two different races."
I think a lot of them girls didn't mess with you because you were passive.
And then I was, I started becoming passive back in 2004.
Now you probably been like that for a long time. You've probably been like that for a long time.
But that's why I put away, man. That's why I'm trying to search for a wife, not a girlfriend.
No, you don't need to search for nobody right now. Right now, you need to work on yourself. If you can't even stand up to your brothers, a wife should be the last thing on your priority list. Last thing on your priority list. That's the last thing you need to be worried about. Last thing you need to be worried about.
Yes, sir.
Last thing. Go ahead, man.
Selfishness.
Selfishness. Go ahead, Darius. Childish, in your opinion, you ain't got to like this, right? He say he put childish things away when he became a man. So what is a childish thing that you feel like you put away? Go ahead, Lisa. Disobedience. Go ahead, D. Come on, Johnny.
Y'all gonna say self-centeredness.
Carelessness, Katrina. Go ahead, Shayla. Yeah, it's your turn. Selfishness. What about you, Callie? Yeah. What about you, Stanley?
Fornication.
So you're a little lustful. It ain't necessarily fornication, because the root of that fornication would be youthful lust. Youthful lust. When you're young, you desire a lot of different things. You don't even care either. Don't even care what the consequence of it is either. See, that's what I was talking about last night. When you young, you pick somebody, this person is an idiot. You know what I'm saying? And you shouldn't be fooling with them. You picking them because you're young and you're going off what you desire. You get a little bit older, you don't think that way. At least you hope not anyway. What about you, Lee? Yeah, that's okay. What about you, Mike? Smoking weed. Okay. Aki said chasing after the world, and Kira said her baby daddy. What we're looking at is he say when you became a man, you put childish things away. So what was the childish thing that you set on to the side?
You said what is the childish thing?
That you put to the side. It could be the biggest thing. It could be anything. Don't make no difference. He said when he became a man, he put childish things away. So what is the childish thing that you placed away?
Oh, I would say lust.
Now let me ask y'all this here. In y'all minds, how difficult was it to walk away from the immaturity that was in those particular areas that you said you put away?
Oh, so it was hard as heck, man. You know, I always had nightmares, dreams. I had lots of friends leave me because I was trying to tell them, I want to do what the Bible says, man. Just get my soul saved. They're like, you a faggot, man. You ain't with that bullshit, man. And it was hard, man. Like I said, why do you hate God if He created you? It's not I didn't hate God. I just don't want to hear it from you because you're self-righteous. You're a false prophet, and you're lying about the whole Bible. I'm just repeating what it says. But it was hard, man.
You just don't know how to be quiet.
It was
Oh my goodness. It's all good, man. They told you were gay because you ain't want to chase no women, huh? But nah, that don't make you gay. That make you have a little bit of self-control. Like he said, he would have known without the word, he wouldn't even know that he was chasing after the world. You know what I'm saying? Indeed. Definitely is. Anybody else?
What?
Just how you felt, how difficult it was
To let that go?
in that process of maturity to let that go. Because, you go through something to mature, it's usually not easy. It's usually a difficult process. There's usually a lot of pain involved.
It was pretty hard because I didn't understand how being selfish. So, I had to learn it.
What you say you want to do today?
You ready today?
Anybody else before I continue?
Yeah, I guess it was hard. It ain't seem hard, but it was hard.
Why was it hard? Pause. So,
I guess just because, I don't know. I can't articulate, put it that way. I can't articulate. Not at all. Oh, well, yeah. I know that it just, I feel like it's just that point where you feel like you already have stuff in your mind that you want to do a thing you see for yourself, and once you see that that's not His will for you, like you being able to accept it and then do the things and move towards what you know He wants you to do versus what you want to do.
wow. I'm going to say when I was a young man, I wanted to get paid, but for lack of a better term, I just didn't give up. You know what I'm saying? At all. I didn't really care. You know what I'm saying? Other than Lil Muffin, I just didn't really care. You know what I'm saying? If this is what we doing, if this is what we going to do, then we're going to go all out on it, and we're going to figure out a way to, what's the word I'm looking for? Transition our way up out of this and do something else. But at this moment, I could care less. If we get killed, so be it. If we go to jail, oh well. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like that's how you had to feel. If you walked around feeling like, you know what I'm saying, but that's not a mature way of thinking. But I was a child, so you know what I'm saying? And the fact of the immature way, boy, I got to get it by any means necessary, which is not necessarily the mature thing to do, because you could do things that could put you or other people at risk. You know what I'm saying? You had that attitude that I'll do anything, then yeah, you might do anything. See, people say they'll do anything, like, I'll do anything to take care of my family, and they really just saying that they'll work any type of job or whatever the case may be. But in reality, when you say you'll do anything for your family, that means you'll commit crimes or you'll hurt another individual in the pursuit to secure what your family needs. And yeah, that's not an adult way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? But shoot, when you're young and I wouldn't intend that's what you're gonna do. Well, I gotta take care of my people. So if I have to snatch stuff up out your house, then your house getting snatched. You know what I'm saying? Some dude feel like if I gotta put a pistol in your face, then the pistol's in your face. You know what I'm saying? If I got to stand on this block or sit in this trap or be in this hotel or whatever the case may be, these drugs getting sold. Shoot, some niggas I knew they were pimping hoes. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't pimping major in a major way, but they definitely were pimping hoes. Mostly baseless, but they were doing it. You know what I'm saying? But let's come on back on this Daniel chapter 9. Actually, let's go to Isaiah chapter 8 and continue on with that there, man. No, I'm just asking y'all that because, you know, with maturity come pain. And the reason I want to mention that, what you're going to see, in order for Yahushua to become a full-grown adult, he had to experience pain. And even for Paul, for him to become a man, he had to experience pain. You know what I'm saying? There had to be a struggle there. Isaiah 8:16 says, bind up the testimony and seal the Torah amongst my disciples. So I'm going to wait for the word seal, because you're going to see it again in a different location. When we look at testimony, right, the word is tawada. And it's a confirmation, an attestation. It's prophetic or a testimony. Now I'll give you a moment to put yourself something together for it, because you got a tau, and you got an ayin, and you got a u, and you got a dalit, and you got a hey. I'll give you a few moments.
All right. So what was the words again, my brother? The letters again?
It's tau,
Ta,
ayin,
Ayin,
a u,
U,
a dalit,
Dalit,
and a hey.
Hey. Let me read. Shoot, man. I'm gonna say, mark the eye to hook the tent door to behold.
All right.
It's
So,
Ta,
hey.
Ayin, Ba, Ua, Da, Dalit, and Hey.
Anybody else? Ain't no hawk cutting out there, man.
That's 16, right?
Uh-huh. Mordecai, what you got going on, man? Mordecai, what you got going on, man? Mordecai looking at you like, who you is? He all right, Mordecai. He good. Mordecai said, no, I don't know you, cuz. That's how he looking at you. You see
You
it.
like, you don't stop there, you out now. Like, shoot, man.
Mordecai looking like, who is this dude? And where did he come from?
I came from California.
Mordecai said, I just came from my mama. I was born a couple moons back.
Yeah, man. Ta, Ayin, Ua, Dalit, and Hey.
So what would y'all use for that towel? What would you use? What would you say? Considering that this is a testimony. And remember, the testimony of Yahushua is the ruach of prophecy, which is what this word means. So when he's telling you to seal that Torah among his disciples, or to bind up that testimony, what would you say for towel there, Kalisha? What would you say? Towel. Tippy towel.
So that's basically.
What you choose?
That's basically.
No, I'm talking to Alicia.
That's basically us joining
You gonna pick something? But what about you, Darius? You gonna pick something for that time? You gonna pick something? What you gonna pick, Will, for that Ayin, man? What you gonna pick?
I think I got the word.
Go on ahead.
I would say, the man will raise arms to establish you to the covenant so that you can see the door.
I will accept it. Now, why is that important, Lisa? Why is that important? He said the man with raised arms is going to do what again? He's going to establish the covenant so you can see the door. Why is that important? When you considering that it's the testimony that he just said to bind up. Why is it important? You ain't got nothing for me. You already got it on. Well, Stanley, why is that important? Why is the man with raised arms establishing the covenant so you can see the door important if he's saying to bind up that testimony? Because that's the gospel. Now let me ask y'all a question. What's the word for disciple? You sure about that? I'm talking about in this verse right here. You sure about that? 8 and 16. Anybody know of any other word for disciple besides Taladine? Because it ain't that word. I'm telling you right now, it ain't that word. 16. That's not the word in Isaiah 8 and 16 for disciple. It's lamud. Totally different word. You know what it means? It's somebody who's taught or somebody who's learned. Now you got a lamad, a meme, a ooh, and a dalit. So take your time. Lamad.
But that's lamad in the alphabet.
Huh?
That's lamad in the alphabet.
What was those letters again, my brother?
Ooh and a dalit.
Okay, let me see.
Because and the reason why this is important, right? Remember what I mentioned to y'all, right? It's in Luke chapter 14. He said, if you are not willing to take up your stake, then what can you not be?
A disciple.
That means you can't be taught by him, and nor are you learned in the word if you're not willing to take that cross up.
Well, why I think about, sorry to kind of lump, but what I was thinking about what you said about lamed, man, uwa, and dalit, I believe one is like staff of water. The staff of water will hook the door.
All right. Would anybody else take like a role at that?
I was gonna say, when your original question, why he chose that, it sounds like because you can't get to the Father without going to the Son.
You can't, exactly. That's exactly the point. You can't get there without him. Meaning, you have to be a full-grown, mature man, because remember, there is no male or female in Mashiach in order to see the Father. That's what because we don't get to this here because he getting immersed today. So you have to go through some of this stuff to point this stuff out, to reiterate that of why that is so important and bring that back to our remembrance at the same time. And also showing forth how this is bringing you to establish you to a particular covenant in the first place. How this man's death established you to a covenant, and we're going to go grab some words and some of that Daniel 9 that we looked at to further solidify that point, to understand that when you come into the covenant of a Mashiach, this is when you are able to become a full-grown adult. Or to walk in newness of life. Like when you first get in the word, you's a babe. But you're supposed to develop in him. You know what I'm saying? To the point that once you receive the Ruach, you're supposed to be a full-grown adult. So if we say we're a full-grown adult and we ain't receive the Ruach, then you're not a full-grown adult. You know what I'm saying? Because that's your completion. That's when you literally become a man. You know, they got rites of passage for manhood in different cultures and all that there. But as far as in regards to Yahuwah, your rite of passage of becoming a man is receiving
His son.
Receiving the Ruach. You know what I'm saying? That's when you become a full-grown man in the eyesight of Yahuwah, a functioning man in his eyesight, because you're no longer thinking childish, you're no longer speaking childish, you know what I'm saying? And you're no longer understanding as a child. You're understanding as a man. You're speaking as a man. You're thinking as a man. And if you're thinking as a man, it's because you have the mind of a Mashiach. And if you have the mind of a Mashiach, how could you not be a man? If you don't have the mind of a Mashiach, you are not a man.
Can I go in hand with the olive man?
Yes. But those are characteristics of a full-grown man. You know what I'm saying? A full-grown man is self-sacrificing. A full-grown man is honest. full-grown man is responsible. A full-grown man has a purpose. A full-grown man is confident. A full-grown man is protective. You know what I'm saying? These are all the attributes of Yahuwah. A full-grown man is sensitive, which means that he is compassionate and empathetic. You know what I'm saying? And these are the type of men, because masculinity is skewed, and for the most part in Western culture, masculinity is taught from a Anglo-Saxon perspective. You know what I'm saying?
And women.
Huh?
And women.
I'm not worrying about no women. I'm talking about masculinity in Western culture is taught from an Anglo-Saxon perspective. An Anglo-Saxon perspective of masculinity is not the same perspective of masculinity in the East. It's not the same.
Well, because you know, in the West, in America, you know, a woman can run through you and disrespect you and do all kinds of things.
No. A woman can't do anything. Nobody can do nothing that you don't let them do. If a woman is running through you and disrespecting you, it's because you're letting her. So why would she not do it? She does that because she doesn't respect you, because she knows a man is not in her presence. A man will run through you and do you like that if he doesn't respect you as a man. That's coming from an individual who doesn't respect the person they're doing that to. Someone you respect, you don't disrespect or do disrespectful things to. That doesn't happen. You don't disrespect someone you respect. The only way you could garner respect for someone is to force them to respect you by changing your behavior and how you relate to them with their disrespectful actions. Because if somebody get too comfortable with disrespecting you, they're going to continue to do so. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You know, Yahusha allowed them people to disrespect him. He knew full well what he could do to them. Shalom, Brother Dennis. He knew what he could do to them people.
He could have killed them with the word.
But, I mean, he did kill him with the word. He slayed him with the word every time he opened his mouth. But I'm talking about he could have took these people out and made them respect him by the power of his wrath. He chose not to, because the wrath of man don't work the righteousness of Elohim. You know what I'm saying? A man has self-control. A man controls his emotions. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you get mad don't mean you should cuss somebody out. Because you get mad don't mean you can say anything out your mouth. Just because you get mad don't mean you go entertain some folly. At that point, you're not a man. That's a child. That's what children do. You know what I'm saying? And then we saying we godly people. How you a godly person and you can't control yourself because you got upset? Like somebody's supposed to care. Be a man and handle your emotions. You can feel any way you want to feel. That doesn't give you a reason to act any kind of way and hurt other people because you feeling down. No, you're a child. That's what children do. Children throw tantrums. How a grown man throwing a tantrum? You know what I'm saying? You 25, 30, 35 years old, you falling out on the floor throwing a tantrum. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're a grown man. That's what they do. We expect that from them. They're children. They're babies. That's what babies do. You got grown men throw tantrums out here every single day. And you know the first thing they want to do? Blame a woman. Which got to be the most weakest thing in the world. Ain't that woman's fault. That's your fault. That's your fault. Be a man and take responsibility for your actions. You did that. You know what I'm saying? But that's Anglo-Saxon teaching as well, that if somebody hurts you or does something to you, that you have the right to react any way you want to react, irregardless of what your actions are going to affect another person because your feelings hurt. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. I don't care what nobody did. I just seen what's that lady name? What's that lady name be on the OWN network? I know you know that lady name. Yeah, some dude was a pastor. He said he got raped when he was a child, and that's why he would cheat on his wife. No, nigga, you were cheating on your wife because you're a whoremonger. You know what I'm saying? Because you're a whoremonger. Not because some man molested you when you were 7 years old. Did that negatively affect you? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? But you had 2 wives that you cheated on, and every time she talked to you about it, you blamed it on being molested. While you standing in front of these people preaching every week, and your wife stay over here, and you over here, and you got a bastard baby. But it's his fault for molesting me. No, that's on you, sir. Your emotional pain does not allow you to hurt this woman by defiling your marriage covenant. That doesn't give you the right to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because now guess what you've done? You've negatively affected this woman who you were married to, this child who you produced, and this whole congregation of people who seeking God's word from you. That's immature. That's selfish. That's what children do. Nevertheless, what y'all got for the characters for this word right here? You got something for me about that, man? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it go hand with the other word.
Absolutely.
If you talk to the strength, you get into the door.
You're going to get in the door.
And you push the strength to the door, strength to the house.
So you see, his disciples are going to have what? His testimony. See, if you don't have his testimony, then you know who taught you, and it wasn't Yahuwah. See, let me show you something. Isaiah 54. What do I want to use? I want you to pick it up, right? I'm going to pick it up at verse 6 because there's some good promises in there. That's always good to be heard. Isaiah 54 and 6. And it says, for Yahuwah have called thee as a woman forsaken, grieved in Ruach, a wife of youth, when thou was refused, says your Elohim. For a small moment I have forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on you, saith Yahuwah, your Redeemer. Now he said everlasting kindness. What is this everlasting kindness that he could be referring to? Is this mercy? No, I'm asking, like he said he's going to extend everlasting kindness on us and have mercy. Salvation, but what? Now we're trying to be specific. He said everlasting kindness. So what would that be? Because you're not incorrect. The Ruach, what you say, Darius? Because I heard you say Ruach. The Ruach. So when you look at that, how would that be everlasting kindness?
Because all the fruits of it.
The fruits of it. What you say?
Yeah, I would say the fruits of it and them not being able to get that gift before. So that
Okay.
was something that
What-
he brought out with us.
What would you say, Nisha? Because why would make the Ruach everlasting kindness? Those answers ain't wrong.
The Ruach cannot
Yeah, I can say that. Remember what he said in Romans 6? Because all the answers are correct. Remember what he said in Romans 6? The wages of sin is what?
death.
But see, that's the only part of that letter that people like to focus on. Do you remember the second half of it? But the gift of life is through this man. So when you look at this everlasting kindness, if you sin, what's supposed to happen?
We're supposed to die.
You're supposed to die. So now I will impart unto you some kindness and some mercy that will last forever. You know what I'm saying? This is the reason why it is imperative to purge yourself from any and all things to make yourself a vessel meet that he can give that unto you. Like he say, it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It is his desire. When you sit back and you look at the gift of eternal life that he has, it is his desire to give it to you. He doesn't have a desire to keep it over here and away from you and not let you have it. More than anything in his power, he wants to give that to you, but you have to make your vessel meet for him to give that to you. He's just not going to give you that because you want it. Now he said it, ask and it will be what? It will be given unto you. But you also have to seek after him. And the purpose of seeking after him, guess what you should have been doing? You should have picked up your stake and you should have crucified yourself and crucified your lusts and affections. And then he'll give the Ruach to all those that obey him. You know what I'm saying? See, for those of y'all that mentioned, right, that's a good thing that you mentioned that you had to purge selfishness. Selfishness will stop you from serving Yah because it's always going to be about your will and what you want before his.
Another word for self is pride.
That is pride. That's why he said the love of the Father. He said, the love, he said, if any man have the love of the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Because the love of the world is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Because the pride of life is what you seen happen with Eve. It's what you seen happen with Ahab. It's what you seen happen with Jeroboam. I want what I want, and I want to do what I want to do. I don't care what your will is. I know what it is. Because guess what? Didn't Jeroboam get told what he should have did? What he got told what he should have did was the will of Yah. That's what you should have done. Eve knew what the will of Yah was because she recited it back. Do you know what I'm saying? But my pride meaning my selfishness and what I want is more important. And he say he resists the proud and he give grace to the humble. Because if you can't humble yourself under his mighty hand, he can't lift you up. And that is a sign that you are not an adult. Because a real man is not a proud individual. He is a humble person. That's what the text say. And that's what one of the attributes are. If you say, I'm an olive man, I'm a leader, then you would have to be a humble individual. You can't be a leader and be proud.
You have to be willing to serve, right?
Yeah, exactly. But even with not just being willing to serve, do you know how humble you got to be to know that somebody's going to come kill you and let them do it?
You gotta be a mega humble person.
Do you understand? Do y'all really understand how this man sat back and Peter was ready to ride? Y'all know what he did. He put his ear back on and told Peter we could have ride. He told Pilate, if my kingdom was of this world, you already know, man, my servants would fight. Do you know how much humility it takes to say we going to stand down and I'm going to humble myself even under death? So that your will can be fulfilled and not my own. Because my desire is not as important as what your will is. That's a level of humility that most people in the word have not reached. Because you don't really want to be that humble because you don't really want to die. If somebody came and told you, hey man, I need you to come up here and die for these people real quick. I'm gonna nail your hands and feet to this tree, right? I'm gonna leave you up there for about a good 12 to 14 hours. You know what I'm saying? And everybody I want you to die for hate your guts. And transgressed against you. And I want you to take it. And you like, bet, I'll do it. And then you get closer to the event, and then you go to feeling the natural things that people feel. I don't know about this. I don't know if I want to do this. I'm starting to get a little nervous. And then you go do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Knowing, because guess what ends up happening? If Yahushua fights, and of course we know the covenant failed and the word ended up being a lie, but if Yahushua fights, what really happens? Huh? If Yahushua decided to, when Peter cut his ear off, and he decided to roll with that, what really has occurred? The scriptures don't be fulfilled, but like what? He's contradicted himself. What about, who's your first say, Stanley? He would have been fulfilling his own will, because he would have allowed his pride to cause him to be cast down. See, when he told Peter, put that sword up. He that killed with the sword must be killed with the sword, and healed this man's ear, he allowed himself to be humble so Yahuwah could do what? Lift him up and exalt him. See, that's the difference. We think if we fight and I do what I want to do, that's going to get me the exaltation that I want. Versus humbling yourself and letting Yah lift you up. We rather lift ourselves up. And that's the problem. See, that's what we were looking at when we were reading Ezekiel, and they was like, oh, this nigga proud. He think he God, because that's how they seen it when he was saying that. He wasn't saying that from a proud place. He was saying it because it was fact. Do you know what I'm saying? That's a difference. Do you know most people who are very confident and speak factually, that people view them to be proud and arrogant for the most part? And usually people who are very confident people are usually very humble people. I'm just confident in who I am and what I'm doing. And because you're not confident in who you are and what you're doing, my confidence offends you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're weak and insecure, and you want me to be like you. And that's what the scribes and Pharisees wanted Yahushua to be. They were offended in him because he was confident and secure in who he was and what his mission was and what he was coming to do. And when you that confident, you have power. You're going to speak with power. You're going to live with power. You're going to move with power. Most people don't have that confidence, so when they hear it and they see it, they are offended. What is the thing when they seen Yahushua preaching, right? What did they say that some of the people that knew his family, what did they say? They said,
isn't this Mary's son?
They said that, but they said something else too, though. They said it's one thing in specific that people say about it. Not even just that. They say, man, who he think he is? Do you know what I'm saying? They literally said, who does he think he is? Is this not Mary's son? Is this not Joseph's son and his brothers and sisters we all know? They say, who does he think he is? When he told them, hey, man, I cast out devil by such and such, they were like this here, man. He said, ain't nobody trying to come kill you, nigga. You got a devil. Because they couldn't believe that when they told him he was Beelzebub, that he still had the level of confidence to turn back around and tell them about themselves. and not tell them about themselves for the purpose of destroying them, but to tell them, man, my father sent me to do this, cuz.
To reprove them.
But no, he was reproving them, but he was also letting them know the confidence in who. Most people would have buckled if somebody would have said, you casting out spirits by the Lord of spirits. You know what I'm saying? He turned around and said, hey, man, if Satan can cast out Satan, how is his kingdom going to stand? He said, but if your children cast them out, then he said, then they be the judge. You know what I'm saying? That's confidence in who he is and who he serves and what he believes in. They did not sway him by trying to belittle him and name call him and discredit what he was doing. He came, turned back around and gave validity back to the man who sent him. That offended them people. You know what I'm saying? When he told them the truth shall set you free, and then he told them, you of your father the devil, and then when they said, if I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It's my father who honor me, who you say is your God. He said, you say he your God. If he was your God, you would love me because I come from him. Then he told them, before Abraham was, I am. They wanted to kill him. He wasn't doing nothing but speaking facts. And he wasn't doing nothing but speaking confidently in who he was in the person who sent him. You know what I'm saying? And when those people heard that, they were offended. You're not a man if you're easily offended. You can't say you a man, and you can't say you a man if you offended by another man. How can you be offended by another man doing what it is that he does? That'd be like somebody seeing Stanley painting and they offended because Stanley paint good. What type of nigga is you? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you be offended because he paint good? Why would another landscaper be offended and say, boy, that boy from Living Brandon, boy, they cut nice yards and do nice landscaping work. I'm offended. So you offended because he good at what he do? What does that have to do with you and what you doing? Nothing. What did Yahushua tell his apostles when they seen somebody else preaching the word?
If he be for us, he'll be with us.
He said, let them alone. Ain't anybody be with us. They can't be against us. I'm not that insecure. Let the boy do what it is that they doing. Where we at, man?
Isaiah 54:6.
We in verse 8, actually.
Huh?
We're in verse 8. Isaiah 54 and 8. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness I will have mercy on thee, say Yahuwah, your Redeemer. For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I've sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee nor rebuke thee. Now, I just talked about that last night. Who knows where that's at in the law about what he said to Noah, what he mentioned to Noah? Who knows where it's at? Because we have to look at it. He says, for this, he say, us being cast away from him is the same as the waters of Noah. As he swore that the waters of Noah would no more go over the earth, he swore that I would no longer be mad with you or rebuke you.
The rainbow. That was
So where is it at? We know it's the rainbow. I want to know, do you know where it's at?
in Genesis.
Genesis 9 and what? There you go. That's what I'm talking about. I want you to be specific. At least the chapter anyway. You ain't have to hit the verse. I just threw the verse back there to see what Stanley was going to do. I want to see what Stanley was going to get from it.
That's what we wanted, sir?
Genesis 9, yes, sir. Genesis 9. No, it's at the beginning of the chapter, Stanley. It's at the beginning. Probably about verse 6, I'll take it up. 24, that's your man's them. Like to look at naked men. That's your man's. You know your man like to look at naked men. He said, whoso sheds man blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. And you be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. Elohim spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl of the of the fowl of the cattle, of every beast of the earth with you. For all that go out of the ark, to every beast of the earth, I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there be any more of a flood to destroy the earth. Elohim said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and with every living creature of the flesh, of all flesh. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between Elohim and every living thing, every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. Elohim said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. Now, we dealt with this a long time ago. Who can tell me how Hamashiach fulfilled this? And I need specifics. I don't need none general. It's been a minute, too. Probably about a good 3 years. But we done talk about this here. How did Hamashiach fulfill verses 10 through 17?
When he come back.
You say when he come back? How so?
He said he's going to come back in the cloud.
It does say he's going to come back in the cloud. But we got to take into account what we read in Isaiah 54, right? What did we read in Isaiah 54? He said that his everlasting kindness and mercy would be like what? The waters of Noah, right? And he said he wouldn't do two things. He said he would no longer be what? Wroth, and he wouldn't rebuke you.
That's right. I think the thing probably in Revelation where he sees that he's seen the multitude of the seas before the and that he had to use his judgment.
Okay. Go ahead, little Stanley.
Hey, you know when he sat him in the cloud when it went dark.
He sat him in the cloud when it went dark.
Yeah, he was that boy in the cloud.
He was that boy in the cloud. Anybody else?
Because he wanted to kill all of them with one man. So he took it out of him.
Yeah, that's Numbers 14. He said, I want to kill you all as one man. He said it's a token. What's a token? It's a sign. It's a covenant. So this is the covenant that I'm going to make between me and you and every living creature. I'm going to set my bow in the cloud as a token of the covenant between me and the whole earth, right?
So every time we see a rainbow, that's his covenant for.
That's his covenant for him not flooding the earth. So for all intents and purposes, for him not to be wroth or rebuke thee. Stanley's answer was correct. He remembered. He didn't remember all the details, but he's correct. Let's look and see how. Matthew 27. I'm going to ask y'all this question. How is Yahusha that rainbow? Who told you about seeing a rainbow in the sky? It ain't in Revelation either. Ezekiel told you about it. Ezekiel is what you mentioned. That's him coming back. Do you know what I'm saying? But in this instance here in Matthew 27, right, he made it go dark, right? How is Yahusha the covenant itself? What makes him be the actual covenant?
Because he's the Son of God.
That's not the correct answer. The blood and the water? It is the correct answer, but it's not the correct answer.
Because he was lifted up.
Because he was lifted up.
Basically kind of put up there.
Because you put up there. What else? Anybody else got something for me?
Oh, so what you said last night, now we sprinkle the blood on the people.
Sprinkle the blood on the people.
Pass the cup, and that was representation of the new covenant.
Those good answers. Everything y'all say is good answers now. It's just not the one we looking for. It's not really how he's the covenant.
I mean, I'm thinking, what about when Isaiah, he said he was going to make him a covenant? Or make him as the covenant?
Well, that's 28, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how is he the covenant then? You got to think in the law now. You got to go back to the law. You got to remember stuff in the law.
And Moses break the first two.
Let me ask y'all this here. What's in the Kadesh of the Kadesh, the Holy of Holies? What's in there?
The Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant. What's the only thing that's in that Ark?
There's the Ten Commandments and frankincense and myrrh.
No, that's not what's inside the Ark of the Covenant. Just the first thing you said. The only thing in the Ark is the 2 tables of stone. It's the only thing in there. All that other stuff is around it.
What about it was saying? Well, maybe I'm wrong.
You know, you think about what we read in Hebrews 9 of what's actually in the Kadesh of Kadesh. Aaron's rod and all that there. But in the actual Ark itself, it's just the 2 tables of stone. That's all that's in there. You know what I'm saying? And then the throne was representative of Yah sitting on the throne. So when you see Mashiach actually being, because he said what? The word was in him. He was the word made what?
Flesh.
So that means that the word was actually in him, and he would be representative of the ark, and that covenant is in him because the word is in him. So when you put him up there, this is how he's the bow of the covenant when he make it go dark. This is the token, because what did he say in John 3:16? That he so loved the world that he did what?
He gave his only
Gave his son so the whole world would not what?
perish.
Perish. So what did he make this covenant with Noah for? So the whole world would not what?
Perish.
Perish. What did he just say in Isaiah 54? I'm going to treat this like the waters of Noah so everybody don't what? Perish. I'm not going to be mad forever. I'm not going to rebuke you. Because when you receive the Ruach HaKadosh, what does, you ain't got to worry about Matthew 27, I just said. When you receive the Ruach HaKadosh, what he say ain't nobody going to have to do? Teach you. So if nobody got to teach you, guess what nobody don't have to do? Nobody has to rebuke you. And if he don't have to rebuke you, then he wouldn't be mad with you because you ain't sinning. You know what I'm saying? Because the only reason Yah gets mad is because you're sinning. You think he just walk around, I just don't like Marquise. I don't like that nigga. I'm mad. What'd he do? He ain't did nothing. He just lived. See, that's what niggas do. You know what I'm saying? When you look at people, how many of y'all just dislike somebody for no reason? You didn't have no reason to dislike them. You just like, I don't like them. They ain't did nothing to you. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people see people, I don't like them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, most people did that to me, you know. I always ask them, why you hate me? Even though, you know, I let you in my house, man. I let you stay the night, man.
No, see, they don't hate you. They take advantage of you. And there's a difference. There's a difference. There is a difference. They're taking advantage of you. See, this is not necessarily that people hate you. They just see you as an easy mark and take advantage of you. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, they hate you by the way that they treat you, but they doing it because they feel like they can get over. When somebody feels like they can get over, they'll do anything. But that's because you allow it. You know what I'm saying? But that's another conversation for another time. So let's go back to Isaiah 54. We're in verse 10. Listen what it said, right? Now I'm going to ask y'all this here, and it's going to go in the sun in another place again. He say, for the mountain shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from you. Neither shall the covenant of my shalom be removed, saith Yahuwah, to have mercy on thee. What does he mean when he say the mountain shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness won't?
That's why you people make this Yahushua comes back. When he comes back, he's going to burn everything, and everything's going to melt away. But his judgment will still be there.
Yeah, he told you when in Zechariah 14, the mountain's going to split, did he not? Tell you that in Revelation 6, that the mountain's going to be removed. But that kindness that he going to have on those that are in Mashiach will never be removed. He say, O thou afflicted and tossed with tempest and not comforted, behold, I will lay your stones with fair colors and lay foundations with sapphires. And I will make thy windows of agates and thy gates of carbuncles and all thy borders of pleasant stones. And all the children shall be taught of Yahuwah, and great shall be the shalom of your children. So you know what word for taught is right here, right? That same word that was for disciples. Now he said all your children going to be taught of him. Now let's go look at where Hamashiach fulfills that himself in John 6 and 44. John 6 and 44 says, no man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him, and I'll raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets that they shall all be taught of Elohim. Every man therefore that have heard and have learned of the Father come unto me. Not that any man have seen the Father, save he which is of Elohim. He hath seen the Father. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that believe on me have everlasting life. So the only way you could be his disciple is you would have to learn of him. You know what I'm saying? If you taught of Elohim, then you would be taught of Mashiach. And when you seen Mashiach, you would have believed on him. And if you would believed on him, you would have took up your stake. And when you took up your stake, you would have died with him. And when you died with him, you would have rose with him. And you would have no longer be living your life for yourself. You know what I'm saying? See, we cannot stand up and say, I am a spiritual man, I'm a grown man, and I'm living for myself. You know what I'm saying? That Yahuwah is not at the center and the root of every single solitary decision and move that you make. You know what I'm saying? He has to be. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about that, because if not, we moving by the pride of life, and that means the love of the Father could not be in us if we're moving in that fashion. That means you're really an enemy of Elohim because you're resisting him. Let's take it to Romans 6:1, because we got a baptism today, so it's obligatory that we soak some of these things in here. The earth definitely will perish away. Romans 6:1. Okay, I seen what you had on that table, and I missed that. Death definitely didn't prosper against him. Oh, God. There we go. Romans 6:1. He said, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Elohim forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Know you not that as so many of us were immersed into Yahushua HaMashiach were immersed into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by immersion into death, that like as Hamashiach was raised up from the dead by the esteem of Abba, even so also we shall walk in newness of life. For if we've been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall also be in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. And if you're free from sin, then what would you have? You'd have a little something. You know what you'd have? Come over here to 1 Corinthians chapter 4. I'll let you know what it is you have. You have a little something. We just want 1 Corinthians 4 and I'll make it 6:16. We'll make it 4 and 14. 1 Corinthians 4 and 14. I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you. For though you have 10,000 instructors in the Mashiach, you have not many fathers, for in Yahushua HaMashiach I have begotten you through the gospel. Wherefore I beseech you, be followers of me. For this cause have I sent unto you Timotheus, who is my beloved son and faithful in the Lord, who shall bring you into remembrance of my ways, which be in a Mashiach, as I teach everywhere in every house. Now some are puffed up, as though I would not come to you. But I will come to you shortly, and if the Lord will, and will know not the speech of them which are puffed up, but the power. For the kingdom of Elohim is not in word, but in power. Do you know what I'm saying? When you end up and you sacrifice your life and you live for this man, now you have power. You know what I'm saying? We don't really have no power with y'all because you're not laying your life down. So how would you have any power? That's impossible. So you're really trying to manufacture your own power and pass it off as if it's the power of Yahuwah. And that's fraudulent because you're going to get exposed over time. You know what I'm saying? That you were really going off your own gas, your own energy, your own strength. It wasn't his power, because if it was his power, you wouldn't have to do nothing but let him work. Does he not say in the law when you seen your enemies what you had to do? All he said you got to do is just sit back and watch the salvation of Yahuwah. You ain't have to do nothing. That means because it would be by his power. He made a statement in Zechariah 4 and 6. We might as well read it. Dang, I forgot that, man. Make it about 4 and 4. Zechariah 4 and 4. Yep. So I answered and spake to the Malachim that talked with me, saying, what are these, my Lord? Then that Malachim that talked with me answered and said unto me, know thou not what these be? And I said, no, my Lord. And he answered and spake unto me, saying, this is the word of Yahuwah under the Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my Ruach, saith Yahuwah of hosts. Now, can we not easily confirm that Yah's Ruach has power in it? But guess what we end up doing? You try to do it by your might and your power and your strength, and you're going to fail miserably every single solitary time.
My brother, didn't he say in Ezekiel that he took Ezekiel to a plain where he saw lots of bones? And he said,
that's a different conversation. That's the resurrection of the dead. That's a different conversation. versus what we talking about right now. That's the resurrection of the dead. You know what I'm saying? But that power that comes from the resurrection of the dead only comes because you just did what's in Romans chapter 6. You were buried in the likeness of his death that you might be raised in the likeness of his resurrection. But you have to live like it though. But most importantly, you have to have the faith commensurate to match it. You know what I'm saying? You have to have the faith commensurate to match it. And most people don't. Most people don't. And like I mentioned, that level, the level of faith that Yahushua possessed, that all of us are supposed to possess, is offensive. It's offensive to people who don't have it. It is highly offensive. And it ain't nothing that you really have to do to offend them other than the fact of the unwavering confidence that you possess. Because they see it. Most people don't have that. Most people get up and go to Shabbat every week or go to church every Sunday and don't believe or trust in none of the stuff they hear. They just there. So when things happen in life where they had to be tested and they really have to rely on Yahuwah, you're going to see the difference. When it comes time to like literally, really, see nobody being persecuted. You ain't being persecuted for what you believe in. You know what I'm saying? Very few people even suffering for what they believe in. Most people are suffering because you make bad choices. You know what I'm saying? But like we read in Peter, if the will of Elohim be so and you suffer for the word, you know what I'm saying? Yah will accept you. Ain't too many people willing to suffer for the word and not complain about it. Because them niggas in the wilderness were complaining on every cut and corner. And Yah was with them. You know what I'm saying? We're not even talking about you perceive Yah to be doing things in your life like people say. He was literally with them.
The cloud. Look up the cloud.
He was literally with them. And they still were complaining. They still didn't trust him. None of us saw any of the miracles that them people saw. He was literally with them. They literally heard this man's voice speak from the mountain. You know what I'm saying? They seen that. They seen this man do all these wonderful works. Could you imagine walking around for 40 years? I'm talking about thinking in your head your favorite pair of shoes that you possess. And that they never get old. You know what I'm saying? They never wear out. That's what happened with them. Can you imagine your favorite outfit never wearing out after 40 years? Walk around same clothes, because you didn't leave with that many clothes. So you got to wash the same outfit over and over again, and it never gets old. Every time you said you was hungry, he said, don't worry about it, I got you. Shoot them boys some manna. Man, we need some water. Make that rock come. Man, bring some water out that rock, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't need or want for nothing, and you still complaining. That's pride. And that's lust, because you ain't satisfied. Because he give you a little, and now you want more. You know what I'm saying? Now you want more. That's why a lot of people, he won't let you get what you want in life, because you ain't even content with what you already got. You don't even appreciate that. So then he ends up doing this here. Just let me snatch your breath out your lungs. And let me see how much you appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? You know how much level of faith it takes to walk around butt naked? To let somebody spit and slap you in your face? Knowing that there's a reward for you after the fact? But like I mentioned, what does Israel continue to do? Pick lesser. You don't really love righteousness and you don't really love strength. How can you be a strong person and even consider or be attracted to weakness? Yet people say they're strong in the Lord, but yet continually attracted to weakness. And when I'm talking about weakness, weakness of your flesh. You know what I'm saying? The weaknesses of the world, the weaknesses of desire, weak people. This is what you revel in. How is that possible?
Like saying you out your track.
Yeah, well, and also go to what we were just talking about. As a man thinking his heart, so is he. So you must not be that strong since you desire so much weakness. Because clearly in your heart, you believe that you're weak. Because Yahushua didn't attract weakness in the sense of weak individuals. They were weak in the flesh, but these people wanted to be strong in Elohim. Those that sincerely came and followed him and served him. No, Peter was a fisherman. These men were regular dudes, tax collectors and fishermen. Regular dudes who were embarking on a work that took supernatural strength to pull off. Come on back over here, man. Let's slide it in Daniel 9. Let's get some of these words so we can slide on out of here. Daniel 9 and what it is, man.
96.
Daniel 9 and 24. We just grabbing some of these words. When he told you the 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon the set apart city to finish transgression and to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and the prophecy and to anoint the most Kadash. Now, when you see most Kadash right there, it's just Kadash 2 times back to back. Now, the word for seal is katham here. It means to seal or to fasten. You have a cot, a towel, and a meme. I'll give you a moment. A cot, a towel, and a meme. I'll give you a moment.
Which word coming?
Katham. It's the word for seal up. It was the same word for seal in Isaiah 8 and 16.
So for the word "ka," I'll put to open.
Cot don't mean to open, sir. Oh, you know, that's white folks made that, y'all. That's a little European, little Anglos. And my homeboys in the sports group like to say pilgrims. Pilgrims. Pilgrims made that. Some of that stuff ain't wrong, but a lot of that stuff be off, though. A lot of stuff in that book off, though. They made a lot of money, man. Gentiles made a lot of money off that book. Man, cot means to divide or to separate. It's literally a fence.
It means the covenant of the mark will separate you the rest.
That's going to separate you. So, when you see that there, when you notice that you sealing up that testimony, you know what I'm talking about? Among his disciples, and it's steady pointing you to one man that's going to allow you to be in the fullness. Remember, he said you prophecy in part, right? We read last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, right? Matthew 13, he said it was many righteous men that sought to hear and see the things that his apostles were seeing, right? He said, but they ain't seen them. Peter wrote that the Malachim wanted to even know some of the stuff, but they didn't know it. You know what I'm talking about? So a lot of people take that verse with Pete when he say that we know in part, we prophecy. See, ain't nobody got it all. If you ain't got it all, you going to hell because you supposed to have it all because the vision is open. It's no longer, when he tell you right here, right? What did he say? Seal up the vision and the prophecy. That mean when he say to seal up the vision and the prophecy, that mean the work done. And if the work done, what did Yahushua do after he rose from the dead? He opened it up for him, didn't he? So you ain't got to know in part no more. And you ain't got the prophecy in part. The whole book, the whole puzzle been put together.
That's the gift. What he was saying.
Straight up. The whole thing been put together. That's why I say they all be what? Taught of Elohim, correct? He say everybody who taught of the Father gonna do what? Come to me. Because no man can come to the Father but by me. There ain't no need to be prophecy. That's nonsense. You know what that is? That's I don't know what I'm talking about, cop out. I don't know what I'm talking about, so ain't nobody got it all. We know in part, we prophecy in part. No, nigga, you don't know nothing at all. And you using that as an excuse because he ain't talking about understanding when Shabbat is. You know what I'm talking about? When does a day start? That's not what he's talking about. He said when that which is perfect is come. The perfection is here. The Ruach HaKodesh has been given. Every single man, woman, and child under heaven can be perfected in a Mashiach. It's all on their level of faith. Their level of faith is going to spur and push their obedience. And your obedience is going to, well, your faith through your obedience is going to dictate your level of endurance. Remember we were talking about enduring all things? If you love Yah, you're going to endure all things. You're going to bear all things. That means you'll take whatever come your way. You'll carry whatever you got to carry. Boy, that face don't even look real. He wasn't mad. I'm trying to tell you, that was phony. He thought somebody was going to believe him. But we don't believe him. We don't believe him. So then, right, we're going to drop down a little bit, right? Everlasting righteousness, right? Remember I told you the word for everlasting is olam, right? So you got an ayin, a u, a lamad, and a meen. So guess what? And you get to know, right? You see how the teaching will cause you to experience the sacrifice of the blood. Because this man's sacrifice is an everlasting sacrifice. Takes you back to the everlasting kindness, that we read in Isaiah 54. And of course, you know with the righteousness, now you got the way to the final door. See, it's one last door you got to enter into. Let's take a look at it in Revelation 22. Matter of fact, before we read Revelation 22, let's just get Psalms 101 on general principle to see why these people can't get in this final door. Why they can't achieve this everlasting righteousness, because it goes back to what's in John 14. The Ruach of truth has come. I'm ascended, I should say, but they've neither seen him nor known him. He say, but you see him and know him because he's been with you from the beginning. Psalms 101. He said, I will sing of mercy and judgment unto you, O Yahuwah will I sing. I will behave myself wisely in a perfect way. Oh, when will you come unto me? I will walk within my house with a perfect heart. I will set no wicked thing before my eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me. A froward heart shall depart from me. I will not know a wicked person. Whoso privily slander his neighbor, him I will cut off. Him that have a high look and a proud heart will not I suffer. You know what you see that? Remember, right? He said a proud look is also what in Proverbs? An abomination. And what did the scribes and Pharisees and Judas them have?
Right.
And that proud look caused them to do what?
Kill.
It's called them to kill the righteous. So what you think gonna happen when you have that pride or that selfishness? Because that proud and high look is, I'm do what I want to do. What was they pride rooted in? We gonna lose our place in nation. All they was concerned with is what they wanted. I don't care if it's the will of y'all. It took Capheus to tell him, he said, y'all don't know nothing at all. It's expedient that one man die for the people, that the whole nation don't die. It's necessary that this happen. Oh, they were looking at it, man, I don't care what happened to the rest of these. I don't care what happens to them. Because how he's making me feel is more important than how him dying could benefit everybody. But what they didn't know is just like what's in Genesis. You thought upon me for evil, and it turned out to be for good. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. And that's what you have to realize if you in the word and you end up being persecuted for the word, is that they thinking upon this for evil, but it's going to end up for your good. That was the mentioning why I asked y'all, like, you know, how did you feel when you were shedding those things? Well, there's some pain, because that pain did, because we could say Joseph felt a lot of pain. You imagine getting sold by your brothers?
And then he went to prison for 12 years.
And then go to prison for something you ain't even do. For something that you can restrain yourself from doing, that you could have easily done and been free. But that's the level of integrity, because integrity is what you do when no one is looking, when nobody can tell you, that's a righteous brother right there. That's a good man. Nobody knew that Joseph didn't sleep with that woman. Even nobody knowed it. And he didn't care if nobody didn't know it, because I didn't do this for somebody to see me. I do this because this is who I am and this is what I'm about. He said, my eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. He that walk in a perfect heart, he shall serve me. Now let's go to Revelation 22. Now you see, he said, now how do you get to this perfect heart? Paul, John 3. Let's see how do we get to this perfect heart? By 4:15, I got to get on out of here. John 3:3. John 3:3. Yahushua answered and said unto him, truly, truly, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. Nicodemus said unto him, how can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Yahushua said, answered, truly, truly, I say unto you, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. Now you sit back and look at it, right? He asked a reasonable question if you carnal, right? How you gonna go back in your mama's womb and be born again? How you gonna be able to do that? Now, if once you get born again, guess what you would live? Do you think when you get born again, you automatically gonna be an adult?
Yeah, bro.
You have to grow. You know what I'm saying? So it takes time for you to grow from a babe to an adult. So you have to sit back and look at, right? We can't necessarily judge your maturation process in the time frame as you would a child. You know what I'm saying? And say, but it shouldn't take you 10, 15 years to mature in the word, though. Not if that's your true diligence and your desire. I done told you, after about 5 years, you should have a strong level of maturity after 5 years. 5 years? That's a long time to be dealing with the word. 5 years? That's a long time. You know what I'm saying? That's a long time. If you've been in the word for 5 years and you still seeking to do your own will, you don't really believe it. Because you should have already learned and mastered that. That means you got to go back to the first principles of Elohim. That means you's a babe. That means you need to go back to your mama and go and get you some breast milk. Because you know what I'm talking about? Because you need to go back to the pap for which you suck. Because that's what you need to do. 5 years in the word, you should be almost a grown man. I done heard of people be in the word 7-10 years and still babes. Do you know what I'm saying? That's unacceptable. Shoot, after a couple years, you should have had something going on. You should at least be potty trained. You should at least be not making messes on yourself. Verse 6. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the ruach is ruach. Let's take a look at something in Luke chapter 5. Yeah, don't even worry about it, 'cause I don't even want it. No, I don't even want it. Luke 5 and 36. And then we're going to slide back to Daniel 9. Just to reiterate a couple more points. Hit this anchor so we can get on out of here, because it ain't getting warm, I can tell you that. And that hawk seemed like it ain't cutting down. But I think it was just 80 degrees. Shoot, me and you both. Y'all said I got a trick for y'all. It's going to be cold tomorrow.
You said Luke 5:36?
36. And I just want to hear how y'all feel about it. What it's saying, it said, and he spake also a parable unto them. No man put a piece of a new garment upon an old. If otherwise, then both the new make a rent, and the piece that was taken out of the new agree not with the old. And no man put new wine in the old bottles, else the new wine will burst the bottles and be spilled, and the bottle shall perish. But new wine must be put in the new bottles, and both are preserved. No man also having drunk old wine straightway desire new, for he say the old is better. Anybody got any idea what he's trying to convey? Go ahead.
He's trying to convey that
Calm down. Take a breath.
The teachings of the Pharisees and Sadducees is wrong, because they try to do it to glorify themselves instead of trying to glorify Elohim. So this is why Yahushua has to come in there and teach the real gospel, so that they can be born again and that they can be saved and receive the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh.
All right. What you think that means, Nisha? I know, because he going hard. All we talking about is he's saying you can't put new wine in old bottles. But the main key point that I also want y'all to think about is that he says that, new wine got to be put in new bottles so it can be preserved. And that no man after he done drunk some old wine immediately desire that which is new. Okay, no, I'm asking you what you think. It's not about a right or wrong answer. That's what you're saying. I can feel that. I can feel that. What about you, Monte?
I feel something that's old, but I don't know.
Just tell me what's in your mind.
I'm trying to put in words, trying to feel something that's old, but that's not.
You basically saying you trying to fill a void with the wrong thing. That's what you trying to tell me? Well, I can feel that. I feel both of that. Go ahead.
Okay, basically dealing with what you've been talking about, trying to get into the new covenant, but still trying to please everything in the old covenant.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do both of them.
No, you can't do both. What about you, Alicia? Oh, I got you, man. I got you. Yeah, I'm ready. Born again, doing the same old thing, for sure. What about you, Derek?
Just think about the word, she how do you say that, no beauty, and they pretty much like holding on to the old covenant and not desiring the new thing, and the she came to bring to the strange to him.
What?
Yeah.
For sure. What about you, Dwight? When you say you can't put new wine in old bottles, and that people don't the straight way desire new wine after they done drunk some old, what that mean to you when you hear that? Word. I didn't think it. What about you, little muffin? Huh? He stole your answer? That's what you're saying? He committed larceny? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Take your time. Would you like for us to return? Go ahead, D. What about you, Johnny?
Just feel like you can piggyback it off John. Saying, if you're born again, you can't mix, I guess, your old self with the new self. And I guess, like you said, as far as growing, like, it might take a little minute, like you say. I guess you gotta get an acquired taste, I guess, for the new one. Like a better word.
What about you, Shayla? I don't know. No. I'm going to do some investigation on that. What about you, Will?
If the bottles is your body, you can't try to hold on to the old man and try to create a new man.
What about you, Mom? We ain't gonna let him get sick, Trina. Let me say your slap offends me.
Since he didn't necessarily ever say anything that wasn't scriptural, like, would this be considered like a parable where he was speaking about himself too? Since the scriptures represent him as wine, it's talking about him being wine, it's talking about him being fine linen.
Oh yeah,
He's basically saying you can't put meat in your old self.
oh yeah, we finna get to all that. You ain't told no lie. What you got for me, Lee? What you got for me, Mike? What about you, little Stanley?
I don't think we can't receive the ruach if you haven't died to your flesh. And I feel like when we said people desire the old wine, the old is better. Like, you know what I'm saying? They stuck in their sins. They comfortable where they at. They don't want to do it.
Okay. What about you, Callie? I see you back there hiding. You hide. I see you though. I see you. I see you.
I think it's like when you were born again, like when you get immersed in it, when you're supposed to be born again, you don't go back to
Okay, cool. Now let's look at verse 36 because my man Akis said he want a little bit more understanding. I was gonna do it anyway, but he mentioned it, so we gonna definitely do it. That's why I came here anyhow. When he say no man put a piece of new garment upon the old, otherwise when the new make a rent, the piece that was taken out of the new agree not with the old. Who got an idea what he's trying to express? He's saying that which is new is not going to agree with the old.
The new covenant is not going to agree with the old covenant.
Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I was gonna say like trying to keep the custom Like the Pharisees, you trying to keep the customs of the Old Testament. We trying to break
See, like Paul, the Pharisees weren't keeping customs of the Old Testament. That's a very strong misnomer. They were making their own customs.
Yeah, yeah.
They were making their own customs.
They was doing traditions of men.
They were doing their own thing and trying to go ahead, dear. Oh. And trying to express that this was law. Go ahead, dear.
Like what Paul said, the carnal man is not going to be with the spiritual man.
Indeed. Let's look at that. Romans chapter 8. Pick it up at Romans 8 and right 5, right? He say, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Ruach, the things of the Ruach. Matter of fact, back that up to verse 1, because that's really what I want. He said, there is now therefore no condemnation to them that are in Yahushua HaMashiach, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. For the Torah of Ruach of life and Yahushua HaMashiach have made me free from the Torah of sin and death. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of Torah might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. So you know what he end up telling you with this here, right? When he say the law was weak through the flesh, what does that mean? It was never everlasting. Anybody else? Anybody have any idea what that means? He said for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh.
I was just thinking about the law of sin and death.
Sin-
There was laws in there the laws in there make provision for the flesh.
Go
I
ahead.
was going to say because during the Old Testament, the old law, they had to use animal blood to cover up sin. So the reason why I will say that is because the blood of Mashiach was greater than the animal's blood. So it could be everlasting. Allah and Yahuwah, who raised him from the dead, and make him immortal now.
Oh, I give you that. Okay, I hear all what y'all said, right? But let me ask y'all this here. Y'all should already know the question. What you know the law was not given by what?
To Gentiles.
Not that. That's not what it was.
The law was given by man.
By dispensation of angels. So it didn't come by what? It didn't come by faith. There was not a promise. He didn't promise you a law. The law remember we mentioned last night, the law is for who? For sinners. The law was not made for a righteous man. A grown man don't need no law. A grown man don't need nobody to tell him what to do. He already know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Grown man don't need nobody to tell him to love his wife as a Mashiach loved his. The word already in him. He don't need nobody to tell him that. You know what I'm saying? He don't need nobody to tell him to raise his children. He don't need nobody to tell him to go to work. He don't need nobody to tell him to love his brother. He don't need nobody to tell him to bear his burdens. This doesn't mean that you may not get rebuked, because shoot, Peter got rebuked. We know the Ruach was in him, but anybody got to tell you what to do. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in here grown. Nobody shouldn't have to tell you what to do on a natural level. So once you receive that rule, if you're a spiritual man, a grown man, nobody should have to tell you that your behavior is not acceptable. Nobody should have to tell you what you need to be doing. Nobody should have to tell you that. What did he tell you in 1 John chapter 2, right? He said, the anointing that you have received, you have no need that any man teach you. Now we read in Daniel 9, he said he anointed the most Kadash to seal up the vision, to make it complete, and to bring in that everlasting righteousness that he could bequeath unto you. Because that's his desire to give you that. So when you look at when he's telling you what the law cannot do through the flesh, because that's just what he mentioned. He said if the bloods of bulls and goats were for the covering up of sins, the high priest would need to come in the holy tabernacle every year on atonement and offer up sacrifices for himself and then for the people. There wouldn't be no need for him to do that. So that's how you sit back and you look at it, right? You see dudes right now. That's just case in point, this real life stuff. You got dudes going to the land, finna go over there for Passover, finna sacrifice a lamb, and some of these niggas put blood on their doorpost. You know what I'm talking about? We talk about this year, every year at Tabernacles, ain't a single Israelite in the world keeping Tabernacles as is written. Not now. You know what I'm talking about? Because ain't nobody made no booths out of none of the stuff he told you to make it out of. Not now. Niggas going to Walmart, buying a tent. You ain't did what he said. So your old ain't agreeing with the new. Because you're supposed to be making a booth for him to dwell in, but you get in the tent thinking you're doing something. I'm camping out. I'm keeping tabernacle. He looking at you like, this nigga's dumb. You know what I'm saying? That's how he looking at us, like you dumb. Not because you feel like, let me do it in the time period I'm in or how to keep it, but you thinking you pleasing me when I told you how to do it. How would y'all feel if you told your children to do something in a specific fashion and they did it how they want to do it and then looked at you and say, Mom, I did what you told me. Daddy, I did what you told me. Would you be pleased?
No, you'd be angry.
You're not going to be pleased. He told us how to do tabernacles, right? So you know everybody, you got people like, so you don't eat lamb on Passover? I said, for what? For what? Because if I'm going to make a lamb on Passover, what do I have to do? Got to kill it. Mm-hmm. On the 10th day, what else you got to do?
Make sure it's for a year old.
Make sure it's a firstborn lamb without blemish. Then I got to kill it.
Take it to the Levites.
Now, you ain't got to take it to no Levites. Everybody got to have their own lamb. Then I got to put blood on my... Well, you know some of y'all next door neighbors going to go crazy. They see you nigga putting blood on your doorpost. They be like, what these people got going on over here? They going to think you in the... Indeed. But that new is not... That old is not agreeing with the new. Because what did Yahushua tell you to do on Passover?
Do this in remembrance of me.
So you supposed to do what?
Remember.
Eat that unleavened bread and drink that wine. That's what he told you to do. Does that new agree with the old? And is that old going to be able to remit your sins like the new one is?
No.
Now let's look at the other thing that he stated. He said, no man put new wine in old bottles, else the wine burst the bottles and be spilled and the bottles perish. So how is the bottle going to perish? If the bottle is you, how is it going to perish? But how are you going to perish? He said, no man put new wine in old bottles, else the new wine burst the bottles and be spilled and the bottle perish. That new going to condemn you. Now sit back and look at it in this fashion, right? Let's think at it in this way. The new wine is the new covenant. You putting it in your old man whom you have not crucified. Therefore, because you don't believe it, you're going to sin against it and you're going to perish, because what did we read in Genesis 9:6? That whosoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood must be shed. So because you transgressing, you're guilty of the blood and body of Mashiach, like Paul enumerated when he was talking about don't eat that bread and drink that wine unworthily, because you're bringing damnation on yourself. Because when you come to drink that cup, you drinking new wine. Because this is the New Testament, which is shared for many for the remission of sins. But you drinking it with the old man and his old thoughts and his old behavior. And you going to perish. Because unfortunately for us, what is the old covenant? What's the problem with the old covenant? No, I said, what's the problem with it? No, it forgives sins. It's not in effect. It's not a faith. It's one problem with it. It's a major problem.
It's not eternal.
Nah, them ain't problems. They problem, but that's not the problem. You know what the problem is? You broke it. That's what the problem is. You broke it. You know what I'm talking about? So guess what that means if you broke it? It's transgressions on it. So you can't put that new wine in that old bottle because you got to perish, because that old bottle say you got to die because you broke it. There wasn't no problem with that covenant at all. That covenant was good. It's because you broke it. You know what I'm talking about? And because you broke it, that made that covenant a problem, because now I got to kill all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to do that. I'm not a killer. I'm not an angry man. I want to do something to change this.
But I was thinking in the law, it say that he wasn't going to kill all of them. Wasn't that part of the law?
No, that's what he told. That's when Moses came and pled on our behalf. He said, please don't do it. He said, they going to go to talking trash that you couldn't get him up out this wilderness and you brought him out here to kill him. He said, for my name's sake, I ain't going to do it. But he said, but they sin going to find them out, because I'm going to sin.
Even in Deuteronomy 28, they never say, the conditions of the law was never, you going to kill us if we broke it.
But the condition of that covenant is if you break it, the condition is death.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, the condition is death. You know what I'm saying? It was only two things that he had two provisions for breaking that covenant. I could kill you or I could divorce you. Because you played the whore in my house, or I could stone you, or I can give you a bill of divorce and put you out. Either way it go, you separated from me. You know what I'm saying? So again, at the end of the day, the problem with the old covenant was nobody but us. Because we broke it. So he said, you know what? And what do you see now? What does everybody try to do? Mix the old with the new, right? And what you see people doing every day? Perishing. Because they ain't getting saved. They're not overcoming sin. Their faith ain't getting stronger. You got people who've been in the word and then they falling back into sin. How you fall back into sin and you say you're a new creature? Especially if you've been baptized. Don't make no sense. Don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? You've been baptized. How you going back to the old ways and old doings and old man and old thoughts? You know what I'm saying? I done heard people say they baptized, they went back to beat their meat. How? Niggas fornicating, niggas lying, niggas cheating on their wife. You know what I'm saying? Niggas blaspheming. People worshiping idols. Boy, I know people who've been baptized and put the whole thing down and serve other gods now. You just were talking about a nigga talking about some old, well, she didn't get baptized. But old girl like this, man, I remember that she would like to say, I just want to be saved. I just want to love y'all. Baby around here talking about metaphysics and astrological charts and all type of stuff. And it's thousands of people just like her. You know what I'm saying? But you know you got to really look at somebody who say they love y'all and you watch them serve y'all and then they turn around and serve another God. Do you realize that nigga ain't got no loyalty to nothing? That nigga could go as the wind blows? And if they ain't got no loyalty to their God, how they gonna have loyalty to a person? And I feel like that in every aspect of life, boy. If you say you serve y'all and you can easily go against him and be disloyal to him, well, you can't be loyal to nobody. You can't be loyal to nobody. You ain't loyal to the person who life come from. The man who claims your every ounce and every being, you couldn't even be loyal to him. That's okay. Guess what? One thing about it said an olive man is a loyal individual. That's one of the and we can all say Yahushua was definitely loyal, wasn't it?
Unto death.
All the way to death. He didn't betray his father, nor his friends. That's why he looked at Judas and said, yeah, boy, it's better for you not been born, but you go ahead and do what you got to do. Disloyalty is not an attribute of Yahuwah, so you know it ain't no attribute of no man. He said, but new wine must be put in new bottles, and both are preserved. No man having drunk old wine straightway desire the new, for he say the old is better. So you know what that line us up with? When they was out there on Pentecost, them people didn't straightway desire that new stuff what Peter was dropping. What they said was wrong with Peter when he was preaching? They said he was drunk. They said he was out there preaching in different languages. They say Peter on that new wine. But guess what? Sit there and think about it, right? When you take the gospel versus we Israel and the law, do people straightway desire that over the new? If that's what you've been on the whole time, do you straightway desire something new? You know what's one thing that human beings don't like?
To be accountable.
That too, but definitely don't. But you know what human beings really don't like besides that? Change. Because human beings are creatures of habit. And most people don't like change. Not drastic change. You know what I'm saying? Most people don't. If somebody, if you had to do something and pack up and move halfway across the country, most people not gonna like that because you're gonna have to change your whole routine and everything that you do. Most people don't like their shifts to change on their job because you got to change your routine and everything you do. Most people don't like to move off their sides of town because you got to change your routine and everything you do. You know what I'm saying? Most people don't like to change schools because you got to change your routine and everything you do because human beings are creatures of habit. You don't like when your habit and your schedule get changed. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it, you serving Yah, you've been serving Yah the whole way. Law and prophets. What did the Mashiach say about John the Baptist?
That he was a light.
He said he was a light, but he said, you know, he said the law and the prophets were till John. Now the kingdom of Shamahin was preached, and all men are pressed into it. When they talk about law and prophets was being preached, what does that mean? And you can come back to Daniel now. What time is it?
4:12.
Okay, I got about 15 minutes. When he says law and prophets was until John, what does that mean? Indirectly, indeed, they were telling you that someone was coming. And they were telling you to keep the law. Directly. And everybody got to be pressed into that.
And back to what he said, that when the purpose came.
That's what you look at it, right? So if you've been straight, when you look at the scribes, right, they came to John. John out there baptizing, right? He was baptizing unto what? He said his baptism was unto what? Not John's. John the Baptist. When he was baptizing unto what? His baptism was a specific type of baptism. His is a baptism of repentance. He said there's somebody who's coming behind me with the fire and the ruach. But when the scribes came, they were straightway desiring the old because they were what you out here doing? That's why he told them, who told you to come out here? You know what I'm saying? See, you come to the word, and as most of y'all mentioned, you want to keep doing what you've been doing. But see, you've been drinking this old wine of chasing this world and chasing your lust and fulfilling your own will, that when somebody give you this cup, you know what I'm talking about, which is full of the wrath of Yah, which means you're going to have to die and relinquish your desire. You don't straightway desire that. When you actually understood, how many of y'all, when you actually understood the word that you straightway desired, that you know you was going to have to relinquish your whole entire life right then and there on the spot? I'm talking about when it hits you that you got to give up your whole life. How many of y'all straightway desired that immediately? I'm talking about just like how Peter them did. Dropped everything they had and went and followed that man.
I'm willing to.
I didn't ask you was you willing. I said when it hit you, you know what I'm talking about? Did you I see you back there, Stanley. Did you straightway desire that immediately? No, I'm talking about when it hit you. I ain't talking about when you first heard it. I'm talking about when it hit you that you have to give up your whole entire life, thoughts, desires, and mind and follow this man. Did you straightway having a desire to do it? You know what I'm saying? And then when it hit you, did you desire to do it immediately? Because that's what he's saying. No man straightway desire the new, because he say his old way of doing things is better. You know, you hear that with people. What's the saying people always say, right? Can't teach an old dog new tricks. The people like to do what I've been doing. I feel like that worked better. I don't want to learn nothing new. I don't want to do nothing new. You know what I'm saying? You've been going a particular type of way, and now this man tell you got to make yourself a new heart, a new spirit, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I got to do what? You know what I'm saying? See, I ain't even talking about saying giving up pants or giving up jewelry or giving up weed or giving up premarital sex or none of that type of stuff. I'm talking about really willing to sacrifice your life right then and there on the spot, because that's what the new covenant say you got to do. Everybody, when they get hit with it, boy, I see you ready, boy. I see you, boy. I like that. You ready? You know what I'm saying? Come on back over here to Daniel 9. Man, don't you go back home and try to be too aggressive before you're ready now.
I'll talk to my grandma and see if we can find something.
Nah, just remember what I told you. Get your strength up first. You know what I'm trying to say? Don't come in there and try to be like, and you ain't ready for that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Get your strength up first.
I'm telling you, my brother, it's been 22 years I've been dealing with this.
Praise Yah.
Bullshit.
Praise Yah.
22 years, man, of being bullied by my family.
I know that. And you definitely not going to overcome being bullied in 48 hours. You know?
And I give my testimony to Yahusha.
I understand that there, but what did I tell you yesterday?
What?
You have as most people who've been bullied and abused, you make excuses and explain yourself to your abuser. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And until you are strong enough where you at the point where you don't feel the need to explain yourself and make excuses for them, then you're not ready for that confrontation. Because you're going to get in that confrontation and you're going to revert back to your old habits. And you're going to find yourself in it and wondering why it's not working. Just know that you've identified the problem. Just like I told you yesterday, it's not your fault. You ain't did nothing wrong.
No.
But you got to build the strength to say no more. And when you say no more and they try to cut that temperature up on you and you like, I'm not explaining myself to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not explaining myself to you. Because you did it in the yard. You were trying to explain yourself to them and they weren't even present. You were making excuses for them and they weren't even present. But that's not your fault. Because that's what you do in your mind to rationalize the abuse that they're perpetuating on you. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's not your fault. And you're a young man, and then you've been dealing with it since your formative years. So that type of treatment is normal to you. You know what I'm saying? If somebody came and treated you differently from that, you would be shocked because that's not your normal. You know what I'm saying? Your normal is somebody taking advantage of you, disrespecting you, calling you out your name. You know what I'm saying? Laying hands on you. You used to that. So you think that that's how someone ought to behave. You know that's not how somebody should behave, but your mind and heart say, stay there and take that because that's all I'm worth. And that's a lie from hell because you're worth more than that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You're worth more than that. But you got to build that strength up to be able to confront them and be firm when you do it. And you're not ready for that yet. And I don't want you to jump out there, especially because you're going to be by yourself and you don't have nobody to really support you for you to be strong to do that. I'm talking about physically in the flesh. Like, nigga can talk to you on the phone all day long. It's different if you know it's somebody standing behind you in the flesh when you go to make that confrontation. But you're going to have to do that confrontation by yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have the strength for that confrontation yet. Like, you coming out that water is not necessarily going to make you strong enough to tell them, get out my house. I'm tired of you niggas. But who's going to protect you? These going to protect me. And these about to go upside your head. You don't get up out my house. You know what I'm saying? Because this the last time you're going to call me a faggot. You know what I'm saying? See, you're not ready for that. You're not ready for that. You're not ready for that. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what they're gonna do. I already told you this yesterday. They're gonna guilt shame you. They're gonna guilt shame you, and you gonna fall for that because they've always done that to you. And that's the same. Remember when we were talking about it the last time we was here? Matter of fact, how sinners stay up all night long, trying to come up with a way to get you off track. You have to realize that that's what miserable, evil
bastards do.
Yeah, that's what they do. They sit up all night long coming up with a way to shame you into getting you to do what it is that they want you to do. You know what I'm saying? Once you recognize that, like I told you this here, right? If you know what somebody, like this here, right? How many of us know, how many of y'all in here, according to what Paul wrote in his epistle letter, how many of y'all know the wiles of the devil? I mean, know the devices of the devil. How many of y'all can say, you confidently can say, I know the devil's devices? You know what I'm saying? So when you know the devil's devices, guess what that means? I already know what you're going to do before you do it. So if I know what you're going to do before you do it, you don't have any power. I got the power because it's chess, it ain't checkers. I'm 5 moves ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? So since I'm 5 moves ahead of you, I can push the pieces how I want, and I'm going to scream checkmate. You can't get me. See, Yahushua already knew the devil and his devices. That's why when he came, you serious, my nigga? Turn these bread into stone. You're serious. You know what I'm saying? Every word that come out the mouth of Yah, that's what man live by. Go ahead and jump off. The angel's going to catch you. You know what he said? Thou shalt not tempt Yahuwah your Elohim. Bow down and worship me. Only worship Yahuwah your Elohim. He already know his devices, so I know what you're coming with. When you already know what somebody is on and what they gonna do before they do it, and you allow them to dictate your emotions, your reactions, and your actions, you gave them your power. You gave the power over to them. You already had the power. I know what you're gonna do before you do it. Ain't nowhere in the world nobody should have that level of power over you to dictate your behavior like that way. Don't give your power away. You know what I'm saying? That's whether you dealing spiritually or naturally. Don't give your power away. See, you've been giving your power away for years. Now it's just time for you to take it back. How do you take it back? I already know if I tell you to do this and do that. I ain't going nowhere, nigga. Who gonna do this here? See, I already knew that's what you were gonna say. See, I done already made provisions for that. That's cool. But I said what I said and I meant what I said. You know what I'm saying? That's it. But it takes time. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, it's not your fault. You don't need to look down on yourself. You don't need to be hard on yourself. You don't need to feel bad about yourself. You were taught wrong and you were mistreated. That's not your fault. You know what I'm saying? That's not your fault. People failed you.
My family failed me.
So now you just learning how to be able to take back what you lost. That's all. And it take time. It don't happen overnight. It take time. But you'll get there.
Yes, sir.
You'll get there. But it take time.
You said we're on Daniel 9, my brother.
Yeah, Daniel 9. We looking at the word for confirm, right? In verse 27, that word for confirm is gabar. Y'all know what it means? It means to prevail or to have strength. And also it means to confirm a covenant. So you got Gamal, Bat, and Rosh. What you got for me for that? Gamal, Bat, and Rosh. That word confirm literally means to confirm a covenant. So when he said he'll confirm or he can prevail or have strength and also confirm a covenant. Now we know Yahushua told you what? Be of good cheer because he did what? He prevailed. And in his prevailing, he did what? Confirmed this covenant. And he said he'll confirm it with who? With many. With many. So you got Gamal, Bat, and Rosh. What you give me for that, Will? What you give me for that?
Gamal's the foot.
Gamal is the foot, the messenger.
And the body.
Pride. Gamal, Bat, and Rosh.
And that's, you said that's the confirmed covenant?
That's what the word for confirm. Yes, sir. You know what the word is for covenant, right? Yeah, I didn't pull that one out.
I said the highest security to the sun.
The highest security to the sun. I like it.
Yeah, I was going to take care of it. I was going to say the head carry.
I like it. I like
Say
it.
the messenger of the house.
Messenger of the house.
Carries you to the heaven.
I can rock with that. But now when we look at midst of the week, right? It literally means half or middle. So let me ask y'all a question. How long is Passover?
24 hours.
Well, let me rephrase that. How long is unleavened bread? 7 days. So if it was in the half, what's the half of 7 days? 3.5. Not that type of 3.5. That's the 8 ball. I ain't talking about that's the 8 ball, man. 8 ball. Get you that 8 ball. That's when some niggas started with that 8 ball cooking up in a spoon. Cut him up. No, that's 4.5, baby. That's 8 for brick. For brick, boy. You know what I'm saying? You in the game. You in the game. Oh, no, you get a weed game where you need about 4-5. You need about 4-5. But check it, right? So, Hamashiach, when did he rise from the dead? When did he say how many days did he say he'd take to rise from the dead?
3.
What day did he die on? So would that not be in the middle of that week? You know what I'm saying? So when he's confirming, and what did you say it again? What you have for that? The highest will take you to the sun. And now for the word, it's katsi. So you got kat, sod, and yard for midst. Kat, sod, and yard. What would you come up with for that? Kat, sod, and yard. The word separates you to the way.
He said the work.
Say the word. That's right. We said yard. Yeah. We can sit back and say the right hand separates you to the way.
I don't say that's right here.
What's the other one that's in my head and it's escaping me?
The what?
For yard, man. It's escaping me.
God is the hand, the work, the praise.
It might be with cough what I'm thinking about. The one we're talking about, you get injured. But it's the word that's escaping my head. That's what
It's hand, work, actions, worship, deeds.
It is cough that I'm thinking about.
To separate, right? Coffee.
No.
Coffee not in.
No, I'm talking about the mean.
Coffee is calm.
Yeah, I know it, but I'm talking about it's another word meaning for cough that I was thinking about, and that's what it was. That has to deal with being injured of some degree, but the word is escaping my mind. That's what I was thinking. Escaping my mind. So when we turn around and you think about that, right? how the messenger or the right hand separates you in the midst of this week. And now you separated and that covenant is confirmed. It allows you to become a full-fledged adult in Yahusha. Now this man is about to be immersed into the same family that everyone in this room has been immersed into. You know what I'm saying? And that is to confirm that very said wound. That's what it was. That's what it was. Wound or something like that. Oh, it was the tame. That's what I was thinking about. Tame. That's what it was. So when you look at it, right, as we proceed to close this one on out and probably continue rolling with it as far as just taking a different direction with dealing with manhood, as far as being fully grown in the Lord is in regards to his covenant. And we read that in Romans 6 that when you get crucified, when you get baptized, you're crucified with a Mashiach. So that you can be raised up and live with a Mashiach. Now I'm not going to pull it out, but y'all remember in Job? Because we usually mention it every time somebody gets baptized. You remember that part in Job when they were talking about that great sea creature?
The Leviathan.
Do you remember what he said about that sea creature by the scales? They don't never separate. They stick close together. You know what I'm saying? When you turn around and you look at Mashiach confirming that covenant with many, who was he sticking close to?
His father.
His father, but also he was also sticking close to every member that was written in his book before they ever walked. You know what I'm saying? And then when we taking that there and you taking that, he's confirming this covenant with us to bring in that everlasting righteousness so that you could have the righteousness which is of faith, so the Ruach HaKadosh could dwell in you, so you could stand up and say that I'm a full-grown man in my God. Fully mature. Because you got to understand that when you receive the Ruach, that means you got a perfect heart, right? Because that's what we said, go walk around in his house. If you got the heart, a perfect heart, and the Ruach is in you, you have reached full maturity. You know what I'm saying? You know when y'all, and everybody felt this way when you were young. When you were young, you couldn't wait to be grown. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? But see, but it's not even the things of the aspect. You couldn't wait to be grown for one reason, for the most part, so you could do what you wanted to do. Because you thought that was maturity if I moved out and I could do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And then you realize that I'm not as smart as I thought I was. You know what I'm saying? But it's not about the bill paying and all that other stuff. You started to realize that adulthood wasn't what you thought it was. You know what I'm saying? It was a lot of things you had to navigate that you didn't think you had to navigate. Then you go to sitting back thinking to yourself, boy, I sure wish I was in high school again. You already know, but guess what though? You shouldn't be thinking like that. You should be embracing your maturity in adulthood and continue to expand and grow, because why would you want to go back to be a 14-year-old child? Why would you want to go back and be a 5-year-old child? Yeah, you thinking to yourself you ain't had no cares in the world, but you were dumb as a box of rocks. You know what I'm saying? Now you should be a better individual than what you was when you were 14 or 15, when you were 20 or 21. And you should be a better individual in Yahuwah by Hashem Yahusha than you was the first day you heard his word and you decided that's what you wanted to do. This man that took his time to confirm this covenant, and most high willing, we finna run him around the corner before we all freeze and get him confirmed in this covenant. So hallelujah for Yahusha in the word. Appreciate y'all on the stream. Bless y'all in the house of y'all. You know, we got another one in about 2 more weeks. Tavon, about 2 more weeks. We got another one in about 2 more weeks. Hopefully it won't be cold. Y'all do know that we got prayer coming in. We need to lock down a location and some food. I pray for you every day, bro, so you don't have to ask me for that. But you can ask them, man.
Hey, can y'all pray for me for my situation? I've been abused by my family for 22 years. And they're still
So I appreciate y'all. Love you.